SOS! SOS! Have you ever heard of that? It's save our ship. Also, it's something else. It's something else that applies to you and applies to me today, whether we're on a ship or wherever we are. It's very, very significant, and it's something you should avoid at all costs. I'm going to tell you what it means. Just stay tuned, okay? All right. SOS. I bet you're wondering, what are you talking about, David? I know what you just said. Save our ship, right? No. And it's not that other one. Save our beep. No, not that one. No. In fact, it's something that you and I lean upon when we don't want to do something, even though we must in order to get to our goal, in order to create a new life for ourselves, or create a new and exciting acting career. And it's a syndrome. Yes, it is a syndrome that is very prevalent within society today. Want to know what it is? I'm going to tell you what it is. Write it down and keep it in a place where you can always see it. It stands for someday syndrome. That's what I said. Someday syndrome. Now, what is the someday syndrome? Think about this. S stands for some. The O is right there for the O. So, syndrome. So let me give you some examples, okay? You probably have your own already. Someday I'm going to give up candy. Someday I'm going to be big and strong and work out like a muscle man or a woman. Someday I'm going to be hounded by paparazzi. Someday I'm going to be thronged by fans. No. Autographs, please, not now, please. Yes, indeed. No. Someday I'm going to be on the big screen. Someday I am going to meet the right person. Someday. SOS. Someday syndrome. Illusions of grandeur. Yes, illusions. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen. It can happen. It happens to ordinary people like you and me who get off our big butts and do something. For those of you that don't, you are falling under the illusion of SOS. Someday. Let me check my calendar. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I don't see any someday. Very strange, and yet some people keep saying someday. Because in reality, you and I are on a time budget, you know? It's more serious than a money budget, because money can be replaced. Work for it, of course, but can be replaced. Time can't be replaced. No, never, ever. So what is your someday? What is that? I'll tell you what it is. Someday is never. I don't mean to whip you with a wet noodle. Just saying, trying to warn you. Someday is never gonna get here. Ever, never. So what is your someday? What have you put off till someday? Is it your acting career? Is it your relationship and your marriage? Is it saving money for a rainy day, but it never accumulates? What is your someday? Now, I know I'm digging deep here. Some of you may feel this under your fingernails. I don't want to talk about this, David. Stop putting bamboo shoots under my fingernails. I get to it. I will. You can count on it. Now, it's totally up to you what you do, okay? I'm a coach, all right? I'm an acting coach and a life coach. Here's a simple question. Just look in the mirror there, okay, at yourself and ask yourself, what am I doing today, or what am I putting off till tomorrow? Because there ain't no someday. I've got to figure things out today. What is your activity someday? Make it today, not tomorrow, not the next day. Because actually, there are two things that motivate us. One and two. I'm going to tell you what motivates us from today to someday. Are you ready? They are faith and fear. Fear holds us back. It makes us repel. No, I don't want that. I know nothing about it, and I'm certain that I won't like it. And then there's faith. Faith moves the hands of God. That's what the Bible says. And it also moves our hands and our minds forward into confidence, into doing something extraordinary with our lives. Because what we're really afraid of is not failure, it's success. Yeah, that's what I said. It's success. And do you know why? I have proof. 95% out of 100 people are not successful in the long run. Only 5% of the population achieves their dream. Maybe 3%. It's between 3 and 5%. Now, the majority is 95%. Now, any time that we are accepted in a group, we feel secure. We feel happy. We feel loved and accepted, like we're enough. If we step out of that boundary, that is into the unknown. Nelson Mandela said this: "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Now let's think about that for just a minute. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. You know why? Because most people think that. We gravitate towards our comfort zone. Anytime we are challenged, especially if we have received mixed messages from social media, from parents, from grandparents, aunts, uncles, and supposed friends, that, oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you, you're going to end up alone. You're going to end up in the gutter. You're going to end up not satisfied and not happy. And if we give credence to those lies, give credence to those words that other people say, which we all have those people in our lives once in a while, and we allow those words to influence our motives, influence our dreams, we will gravitate towards that. Oh, well, my mother said this, my aunt said this, my uncle said this, and my friend said this. I remember once, when I was at the library, I never forget this, and I thank this person for helping me. They actually did. I happened to see my coworker in the library, and I said this. I said, I'm moving to New York. And she goes, well, have a good time being homeless. And I said, I'm not going to be homeless. And then she just walked away, and it left me with a thought. I could have went both ways. I could have said, well, maybe she's right. I mean, after all, she could be right, and I'm sure there's a lot of homeless there. I don't want to be homeless. I'll just stick it out here. But I didn't go that route. That's not my intention. I trust God to take care of me, and I know my own talents and abilities. I'm going to go there. And guess what? I wasn't homeless. I wasn't homeless. I was on The Good Wife. I was on Law and Order. I was in a movie with Drew Barrymore. I was in a commercial. I was in films. And I learned every day about myself, because acting is all about self-discovery. I was alone, but yet I wasn't. God was with me, and I was with myself. And I knew I wasn't inadequate. I realized that I was powerful beyond measure, because I'm made in the image of God, and so are you. You have a light, and don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it. Say, today, I'm going to do this, not someday. Someday never comes, ever. And before we part for today, I want to tell you something very, very important. Yes, we may have people that say this negatively about us, or this, or forecast something in our lives that isn't true. However, there is something more diabolical out there that can steal your today and make it into someday. Do you know what it is? I'll tell you what it is right now. Say, for example, you are in the supermarket and you are waiting in line, and you see these pictures of these wonderful, beautiful human beings called movie stars, and this popular person and that person, and perfect white teeth and flowing hair, and just bright as the sunshine itself. And they're confident. And then in here, you don't need anybody to tell you this, but the back of your mind, it says this: not that pretty. Who do you think you are?
Yeah, you're not that handsome. You were never on People magazine, the sexiest man alive.
Have you ever heard those voices? I tell you what, they echo. They're an echo in your brain. Yeah, that's what I said. They're echoes. They're echoes in your brain that you're not enough, and you'll never be accepted, and you'll never be loved, and you are inadequate, and this and that and the other thing. This is the same thing in history repeating itself. When Lucifer was in the Garden of Eden, he said to Eve, did God really say that you can't eat of all the trees in the garden? And he left Eve with a cliffhanger. He didn't accuse God. He didn't accuse Eve. He didn't accuse Adam. He just asked a simple question that needed to be answered. Now, have you ever experienced that? Of course you have. I have too. Anytime you have self-doubt. Nowadays, they call it self-sabotage. It's a fancy word for fear. And if you don't answer that fear, it'll grow, and it'll coil around you and choke the life out of you. So, what's it going to be? Is it going to be someday, or is it going to be today, right now at this moment, that you make a choice? Change is a choice, not a chance. Whatever you put off for someday, make it today. Do it right now. And if you need a coach, I may be the one for you. DavidThompsonCoaching.co, DavidThompsonCoaching.co. Remember, someday is today.